You can recognize fragmentation. You can even clarify your orientation. But without disciplined practice, nothing changes. So here's the question. What habits are forming you right now? Welcome to Centered, Becoming Whole in a Chaotic World. This is a podcast about orientation, integration, and the lifelong work of becoming whole. I am your host, Dr. Jeff Armstrong, a PhD exercise physiologist with a deep interest in the intersection of the physical and the spiritual. In the last 3 episodes, we named fragmentation, built the architecture of wholeness through the SPIES framework, and examined orientation. What sits at the center of your life? Today, we make this practical, because flourishing is not built on inspiration. It is built on practice. Whether you realize it or not, you are practicing something every day. You are practicing distraction, or you're practicing attention. You're practicing reaction, or you're practicing regulation. You're practicing isolation, or you're practicing communion. The question is not whether you are being formed, it is how. The practice is the bridge between intention and reality. People want to be whole. Fewer are willing to build the habits that produce wholeness. In exercise physiology, adaptation follows repeated stimulus, not occasional intensity, not emotional motivation, repeated structural stimulus. Spiritual formation works the same way. Small disciplines, repeated consistently, reshape the person. Today, we will walk through practices in each of the SPIES dimensions, not to overwhelm you, but to anchor you. The spiritual dimension is the orienting axis. Without it, the other practices drift. Silence. 5 to 10 minutes daily without input. No phone, no music, no stimulation. Silence recalibrates attention. It lowers sympathetic activation. It reminds you that you are not the center of the universe. Prayer or contemplation, structured or unstructured, but intentional. Not as performance, not as productivity, but as orientation. Weekly sacred rhythm, a day or at least a few hours that interrupts production and consumption. You cannot be centered if you never stop. This is why the great religions emphasize a Sabbath. Physical practices stabilize the body. You are embodied. Ignoring the body stabilizes the soul. Strength training, 2 to 4 sessions per week minimum. Strength builds not just the muscle, but psychological resilience. It teaches delayed gratification and disciplined stress. Walking, daily, preferably outdoors. Walking regulates the nervous system and supports emotional processing. Sleep hygiene, consistent sleep and wake times. No formation is sustainable if you are chronically sleep deprived. Physical chaos fuels spiritual fragmentation. Intellectual practices deepen thought. Your intellect must be formed, not inflamed. Deep reading. Books, not feeds. Slow thinking instead of scrolling. Media fasting. 1 day per week with no news or social media. You cannot converge if you are constantly reacting. Reflective writing. Journal at least once a week. Clarify your thinking. Untangle your assumptions. Emotional practices regulate the inner life. Emotional maturity is not suppression, it is regulation. Naming emotions. At the end of each day, ask, what did I feel strongly today? Why? Naming reduces reactivity. Gratitude, that is gratitude with 2 T's. 3 specific gratitudes daily. Gratitude reshapes perception. Pause before response, especially digitally. Delay creates space for wisdom. Social practices embody community. You cannot flourish alone. Isolation breeds distortion. Shared meals, at least 1 intentional meal per week with others. Phones away, presence prioritized. Honest conversation. 1 person who knows your interior life. Not curated, not filtered. Service. Engage in something that benefits others without advancing your status. Service dislodges ego from the center. Start small. Think the rule of 1. Here's the danger. You hear this list and think, I need to overhaul everything. No. Choose 1 practice in 1 dimension. 1 consistent habit. Integration is cumulative. Over time, Small disciplines converge. Practices are not merely spiritual, they are neurological. Silence lowers baseline arousal. Strength training increases stress tolerance. Gratitude rewires attentional bias. Community buffers cortisol. Wholeness is embodied. Why does this matter in a chaotic world? It matters because chaos amplifies urgency. Practices cultivate stability. The chaotic world trains you toward dispersion. Practices train you toward convergence. You do not defeat chaos by arguing with it. You outlast it through formation. Becoming centered is not a 30-day challenge. It is a lifelong orientation reinforced by daily practice. You will fail. You will drift. You will skip days. But the goal is not perfection. It is a trajectory. Are you moving toward integration? Are your practices reinforcing your center? Fragmentation dissolves slowly. So does wholeness form slowly. Silence, strength, study, regulation, community. These are not trendy hacks. They are ancient anchors. If orientation determines direction, practice determines durability, and flourishing requires both. If this episode gave you a practical next step, share it with someone who is ready to move from inspiration to formation. Choose one practice this week, begin there. Subscribe, share, and join the work of becoming whole in a chaotic world.